All right, what's going on, everybody? It is Thursday. We're going to do a little Thursday night preview. We're going to hit some hot topics around the NFL today. And since I did not make a video going over the recaps of Monday, we will cover those games briefly. Not much to say about those games. New Orleans offense somewhatly struggling. Derek Carr still trying to get his feet on the ground and get running with that offense, but they did pull out the win. I think the main thing to note about the Saints, and not a lot of people are talking about it, is that their defense has not allowed 20 points in a game against them for quite some time. I want to say it's like a double-digit streak. So their defense is uh, it's a very good defense. It's not talked about a lot, and it's underrated. So their defense is doing very well. Sooner or later, their offense will get rolling and get on the same page. They're about to get Alvin Kamara back. So I think that will definitely strengthen the offense quite a bit and get Derek Carr really going. So that Saints team, definitely a team to watch out for in that division. The other game was the Browns and the Steelers. Uh, the thing about this game, the Steelers won, but it was all because of the defense. They scored one touchdown on offense, two defensive scores, one late in the game to take the lead, and the the Browns are still the Browns. Like Deshaun Watson's still struggling. Really doesn't have a reason to be struggling at this point in time. The Browns offense put up plenty of yards. They even got down in field goal range late in the game to extend the lead and penalized themselves, got backed up, turned the ball over on a catch fumble, and just allowed the Steelers to hang around and then let the Steelers force them into mistakes, which ultimately cost them the game. The Browns, with the amount of money they're paying Deshaun Watson and the the new coaching staff, the talent on the team, they should be winning these games. They should be over the hump by now. I mean, it's good to see Detroit kind of getting over that hump. They've had some high profile games that they've won in recent memory, and I think as a franchise, they're starting to turn the corner into being a good team. Like they're still learning how to be a good team and how to win some of these games, but they're starting to build some consistency. They're not super consistent, they're not doing it every time, but they're on the right track. And the Browns, we kind of thought they were on that right track, and they just haven't really turned that corner yet. So they definitely need some work. Uh, we'll get back on Deshaun Watson here in a minute. Thursday night preview, we have the Giants playing the San Francisco 49ers. Pretty simple here. Saquon Barkley's out with a ankle sprain, probably going to be out a couple weeks. San Francisco's been rolling through opponents. They have a very solid offense, very solid defense. Really, I think maybe a top three to top five defense in the NFL. Definitely a very good offense, a lot of talent. Debo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, Ayuk, Kittle, great running game, great offensive head coach, and they really have some great playmakers on defense. I don't really see this game being close with Saquon Barkley being out. The Giants' running game should really be non-existent. If anything, it'll be Daniel Jones running the ball, which is what really got them going last week. But once got going, it opened up the offense and got Saquon going. But I don't think that's going to be the case with Saquon not playing. I don't think we're going to hear a lot out of Darren Waller tonight without the running game going, and I don't really see this game being close. I really think it's going to be a two-score game or more. I got San Francisco winning. We'll lock that in. Our picks from last week, we finished up 9-7. Goal is to hit that 10-win mark every week. We did not make it last week, but on the season we are 19-13, and we got San Francisco penciled in for tonight. Now, back to Deshaun Watson. He made a statement that Cleveland's offense will get on the same page and click sooner or later. For $230 million guaranteed, there should not be a sooner or later. It should be now. I mean, we know he sat out a whole season in Houston. We know he had the suspension last year for 11 games for a bunch of off the field trouble. I know the getting the big contract and fully guaranteed really it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, but ultimately Deshaun was just trying to get rubbed the right way. But anyway, for $230 million, you a lot of people are saying he missed 2 years. He didn't miss 2 years. He missed a year and a half, a little over a year and a half. You played 6 games last year, so that means you were able to practice with the team for 7 weeks, because maybe even 8 weeks, because I think they had a bye week in there. I'm not 100% sure on the bye week time, but you practiced for 6 7 weeks with the team. You had time to work with the receivers. You had time to work with the coaching staff, and during all that time that you were suspended and off, like you're a professional. You should have been taking care of your body, keeping it in shape. And I know it's whatever you do on your own, it's not going to be football shape, but 6 weeks you should get it together. And then you have the entire off season that you're not suspended, so you can be involved with the team, be involved with the coaching staff, be involved with other players. And you've had training camps, mini camps, preseason. You had all that time to work with the team, work with the starters, and here we are 2 games into the season, and you're not looking good. You're 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Your your quarterback rating is low. You're not throwing for a lot of yards. Your running is not there like it used to be. In fact, they were talking about how he got 2 face mask penalties on runs trying to stiff arm people, and it's rare that you see an offensive player get a face mask penalty on a stiff arm, and he got it twice in one game. It's just he's not looking like he was when he was in Houston early in his career, when he was explosive and dynamic. And like I said, for $230 million, there should be no later to the equation. It should be now. It should be sooner. So I think the Browns offense really need to get it going. And if Deshaun can't get it going this season and he looks bad all season long, struggles, this $230 million guaranteed contract is looking like one of the worst contracts in NFL history. So definitely still got some issues with the Browns. Next, we'll talk about the Cam Akers trade to the Vikings. The Vikings are still saying they're confident in Madison, but I think this trade says otherwise. I mean, he was averaging less than 4 yards per carry, 3.5 yards per carry roughly through the first 2 games. He had a fumble in the second game. The running game was not there, and I mentioned this, in several videos that their running game was going to be a concern to me. And for them to go out and make a trade for Cam Akers, that says they're not confident with Madison, at least, or they're not confident with their running back room. They needed to add to it. Now, I don't think Cam Akers is a bad player by any means. I just don't think he quite fit into McVay's offense and how he wants to run it and the things he wants to do. Will it be different in Minnesota? I hope so for his sake. I mean, I feel like he's a good player. He just needs to be used in the right way. And I don't know. Like I was not big on Brandon Cooks when you saw Sean Payton, Bill Belichick, and Sean McVay all move off of him, trade him away. It's just a good player, a good coach was going to keep a good player. That's what I feel like. So I still think there's potential with Akers. I think he just needs to be used a little bit differently than the way the Rams are trying to use him. But this will really tell. If he doesn't do good the rest of the season, I think then at this point he's going to fall into a backup or a running back by committee team like not Minnesota, what New England does, and he's going to become a forgotten back when he had a lot of potential to be a really good running back. Um, One of the next topics I'll talk about is the Dallas Cowboys. Yes, their team is looking really good through 2 weeks. They're not the only team that's looking good through 2 weeks, but they are looking very good. But I've mentioned it before, I'll say it again. You need to pump the brakes on Dallas. I'm not saying they're not a good team by any means. I'm not saying they're not going to make the playoffs. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is consider who you've played. You've played the Giants, who didn't score a single point for 6 quarters. You held them to 4. I get it. You had Daniel Jones looking like he did the majority of his career, making mistakes, turning the ball over. You played Zach Wilson in game 2, who had a week to get ready when he spent the whole offseason as a backup. They abandoned the running game and put him in bad situations. So a lot of your turnovers have come from bad quarterback play. And I get it, you're forcing those quarterbacks into bad decisions, but it should be considered who you're playing. I think it's a much different conversation if you say, oh, we forced Patrick Mahomes into 3 interceptions than we forced Zach Wilson into 3 interceptions. One is significantly harder to do. One is not that hard to do. So, and this week you're playing the Arizona Cardinals, another bad team, probably one of the 2 or 3 worst teams in the league. Going to be a top 3 draft pick this year. You're probably gonna stomp a mud hole in them, walk it dry. That's great. Keep doing it. Keep playing well, but don't act like you're beating the best teams in the league when you're not beating good teams. Like you beat the Jets, the Giants, and now you're probably going to beat the Cardinals. Slow it down. You play San Francisco in a few weeks. See how you do in that game. See if you're competitive with San Francisco. Even if you lose a single score game, that's something to be proud of and something to build off of going into the season and into the playoffs. But until you've actually played a good team, like don't act like you're the best team in the league. That's all I'm saying. Um, Next, I'm gonna harp on Green Bay for a little bit. So obviously, I did not have a lot of expectations for the Packers coming into this season because they traded Aaron Rodgers, started Jordan Love. So new quarterback, 4th year in the league, first year as a starter. Like what's he gonna do? Is he gonna play well? Is he not gonna play well? How is this gonna work out? So I really didn't have a lot of high expectations. I really didn't have a lot of expectations in general. Obviously, I want them to do good. I'd love for them to be competitive in the division, possibly make the playoffs. Um, but through 2 games, one thing I've noticed is at times the offense gets in a rhythm and is plays efficiently and plays well, and then other times it's ice cold. And I kind of noticed this a little bit with Rodgers last year and somewhat the year before. Even though he did win MVP, there were times where things would just be smooth and the offense would just be killing it, and then out of nowhere they're not doing anything, just 3 and out every time. And we're still seeing that. So for me, I feel like LaFleur needs to work better with the offense. He needs to do a better job play calling. He needs to get the offense in a rhythm earlier in games because it's taking them too long to find their rhythm, and he needs to call better plays later in games to keep that rhythm going because that's ultimately what's going on. It's like last week against Atlanta. They're up 12 points late in the third, early in the fourth, and offense just goes 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. And that's all they do in the fourth quarter, or 4 and out on the last drive, actually. But you've you've got to call better plays. You can't just all of a sudden get the lead and just say, "All right, we're just going to run the ball and try to milk the clock." Like if your team is built for that, yeah, absolutely do it. But this team's not built for that. Like you have to keep these receivers in a rhythm. You can't let them get cold and then all of a sudden rely on them to go on a game-winning drive to kick a field goal. You you need to keep Jordan Love, an inexperienced quarterback, in a rhythm. You need to, whether it be short, quick screen passes, quick slants, crossing routes, whatever, get some high percentage plays going when even if you're trying to be conservative, like run the high percentage plays and keep the offense in a rhythm. Don't just try to go to the run game and then put him in 3rd and long and hope he makes a play. I mean, he's eventually you might be able to do that with him, but right now you can't. So keep him in a rhythm. The other thing is Green Bay's defense. This defense has been, for me, it's what's kept us from getting to the Super Bowl for a while. So the one year we had a great defense, we went to the Super Bowl, we won, we beat the Steelers in the Super Bowl. every year since then, we've had bad defenses. I mean, in 2011, Rodgers won MVP. We had the best offense in the league, but we had one of the bottom 3 ranked defenses that year. I think we were bottom 2, us and New England. New England made the Super Bowl. We did not. Um, but the defense has not been good, and there's absolutely no reason for the defense to not be good. This is year 3 with Joe Barry as a defense coordinator, which at this point I'm kind of over him. I don't really care for him. I gave him the benefit of the doubt in the beginning, but I just haven't seen the improvement or the consistency from year to year. It's like you see Dan Campbell in his, I think this is his 3rd year with Dallas. The defense has been very good, and it's played very good. It's played consistently good. Green Bay doesn't have that consistency. Joe Barry's schemes, like when they brought him in, his track record for being a defense coordinator was trash. And I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he could turn it around. Maybe he'd learned more, adapted, whatever. Still not looking good. The run defense has been terrible under him. We saw last week Atlanta just ran the ball down our throats all game. That was a big deal at the end of the year in 2021. It was a big deal last year. They've tried to address getting run stop players in the draft, and it's just not working. So I think it starts with Joe Barry. But beyond that, we have 8 first round picks that play on our defense, 8 first round draft picks. And we're not a good defense. The defense has to be better. The defense has to be better, which against Chicago, they played pretty well. I'll give them that. But last week, they did not. You had a young quarterback, you had young running backs. The receivers on that team are not elite receivers by any means. We have very good corners. Like, our defense should not have struggled against them like they did last week. So, and going back over the last 13, really the last 14 drafts, because in 2017 we didn't have a first round pick. I think we traded out of the first round in that draft. But 12 of the last 13 drafts, our first round picks are, we got 2 last year. So um, basically in the last 11 drafts, 12 of the 13 players we took were first round or on our defensive players. I had a brain fart there. 12 of the last 13 first round picks we have made have been on defense. And we have not had a good defense that entire time. Eventually, you've got to make some changes. You've got to do something different, whether it be go out and get some experienced players and try to change the culture of this defense, get a better defense coordinator. Like, something's got to be done, because with a young quarterback and all of our receivers being second or first or second year receivers, there's a lot of inexperience, and you can't put inexperienced players in high pressure situations and expect them to perform great. So the defense has to keep games low scoring. They've got to keep the offense in games, because if you have less pressure on the offense, you can call a more balanced play sheet on offense. You can run the ball more. You can start building some play action passes. You can get some of these young receivers in a rhythm. You can get the young quarterback in a rhythm, like I said. But your defense has to help out. And with 8 first round picks that play on our defense, that shouldn't be an issue. And our defense is not good. So, Green Bay, get it together. Both sides of the ball. Get a rhythm on offense. Defense, play better. Get a better defense coordinator. Find somebody that actually knows what they're doing and let them be a defensive coordinator, because Joe Barry is not it. But that's kind of all I'm going to harp on for now. We'll make another video tomorrow or Saturday with the rest of our game picks for week 3 of the NFL, and I'll catch y'all then.